Never guess what this story is about. Teeth. There once was a boy called Jimmy. Whenever Jimmy smiled, people saw he had a mouthful of beautiful white teeth, a bit like these. Because Jimmy looked after his beautiful white teeth, they were very good at chewing. And when the weather turned cold, sometimes Jimmy's teeth chattered. Now one day, a funny thing happened. A big piece of spinach got caught between Jimmy's teeth. Jimmy's teeth weren't very happy either. After all, the teeth were proud of how they looked. All of a sudden, the spinach thought of something. But chewing didn't shift the spinach either. But luckily, just then, Jimmy decided to brush his teeth with his brand new toothbrush. So at last, Jimmy's teeth were pearly white again. And they all chewed happily ever after. Hey, I know something that'll make you smile. What about a song? Come on! Once upon a time, there was a girl called Lizzy. Lizzy could do all sorts of things. She could dig a really deep hole with a spade. She could also bounce a ball. Lizzy could even do cartwheels.
Ta-da!
But there was one thing that Lizzy couldn't do. She couldn't tell her left hand from her right hand. Her big sister Claire had tried to help her, but Lizzy still couldn't remember. Lizzy was always mixing up her left and her right, and sometimes it was a bit of a problem. Like the time she was playing pin the tail on the donkey at Claire's birthday party. But where Lizzy had the most trouble was in dancing class. Now one day when Lizzy and Claire were playing together, Lizzy was doing some digging. Claire had thought of a very clever way to help Lizzy tell her left hand from her right hand. But first, she had to try something. And from that day on, Lizzy always remembered her left hand from her right hand. Get your high-five hands ready now, because it's time for a song! There once was a man called Carl, and he loved to build things in his tool shed. Now the funny thing was that Carl liked making things, but actually he wasn't very good at it. Whatever he made just never turned out quite right. So while Carl went off to have some lunch, some of the tools in the shed decided to take a look at the table. And so the helpful tools all worked together to make Carl's wonky table into a proper table. So the tools worked together and soon had finished fixing the table. Oh, looks pretty good too. But before they could get really carried away with their good work, they heard footsteps coming down the path towards the shed. Yeah, before you start making your kitchen, what do you say we start making some music? All right. Come on. Once upon a time, there were two young girls called Kitty and Zoe. Now, most days were pretty ordinary, but every now and then, something quite unexpected happened. And so, Kitty and Zoe practiced their very best walking, until all of a sudden, Kitty noticed something. Just as they opened the box, Zoe sneezed. Some of the glitter landed on Kitty's feet, and some landed on Zoe's hand. And then, something very magical happened. The girls thought it was great fun being invisible. But just then, a leprechaun appeared. Hello, girls! He seemed to be looking for something. The girls realised that the box of magic glitter must belong to the leprechaun. In an instant, Kitty's feet reappeared. And so did Zoe's hand. And that's the end of a very magical story. Come on, let's make some magical music together. Once upon a time, there lived two cows called Daisy and Doris.
Moo.
Now, Daisy and Doris liked nothing better than chewing and mooing, and they'd been doing the same old move and groove for a very long time.
I'm sick of...
And so Daisy and Doris mooed and chewed to the same old move until one day Danny the calf came along to tell them some exciting news. Now, Daisy and Doris were nervous about meeting Rhonda, the new mover in the herd. Very groovy. And so the cows chewed, mooed, and grooved happily ever after. Now, I feel like doing a bit of grooving. Come on, let's move. Once upon a time, there was a party for all the yellow pencils, and they were really looking forward to having some fun. But just then, another guest arrived, someone they didn't expect. The pencils partied on until it was time for games, and the first game was drawing.
Me. I want to go first, please.
Sonny was very good at drawing, but he especially liked to draw the sun. And so the yellow pencils took turns to draw all the parts of a big picture. And so the blue pencil added another colour to make the drawing extra special. And so all the pencils danced and danced until it was time to go. Hey, I want to do some partying myself. Let's go! One day, Cassandra was playing explorers in her garden when she discovered something extraordinary.
Wow, there's something curled up there in the bushes.
It was a baby Stegosaurus dinosaur. The little Stegosaurus was very, very shy. She'd never seen a human being before. So Cassandra took her new friend Steffi the Stegosaurus inside to her bedroom. Steffi Stegosaurus soon felt right at home at Cassandra's room. She grew bigger and bigger every day, but she was still very shy. And whenever Cassandra's mum and dad were around, she would hide. Steffi Stegosaurus kept growing and growing. Before long, she was almost too big for Cassandra's bedroom. So finally, Cassandra had to take her out into the garden. Steffi ate and ate and ate until there was almost no garden left. Steffi Stegosaurus looked around the garden for a place to hide, but there was nowhere except... Even though she was scared of Cassandra's mum and dad, Steffi didn't want her friend to get into trouble. Cassandra's mum and dad was so friendly that all of a sudden, Steffi didn't feel shy anymore.
Hooray!
And that's the end of the story. Let's do some musical roaring now. Come on.